What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 97, here with my guy, Fredson. How are you?
I am doing better than Antonio Conte, let me tell you that. But I feel like that is not a very high bar to set right now. So I'm doing great. I mean, we had an amazing week of football. We've got a lot to talk about. So enough with the pleasantries. I assume you're well. I assume you are ready to go. I know I've seen you all over the TV these days, even though I don't get Portuguese TV here. But no, we got so much to talk about here, man. And episode 97, I think you got to get it started where we most want to get it started. And where's that?
The Premier League, baby. In episode 97, we're going to give Champions League Europa League predictions. We're going to talk about the international matches because a lot of bold mentions and the national team of Germany's new. A lot of stuff to say. And yes, people, subscribe to FC Wonderkid for more pods. And yeah, we're about to go bold. And Saka. You mentioned Conte being sad. Saka's going to be happy because Saka is the first player in the Premier League this season with double figures in assists and goals. 12 goals and 10 assists at 21. Saka is the best player in a title-winning team, maybe. Okay, at the end of the season with Arsenal. I think they're the biggest contenders. And now without Europa League, the main focus of Arsenal and Arteta is the Premier League. 20 years they had this. This is 20 years in the making. This Premier League title. Now's the time.
It is. Now is the time. And if anyone was worried that Arsenal were going to be a little bit hurt by that midweek loss, that unceremonious kick out of the Europa League, Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka put that to rest. And I'm going to say it. For Bukayo Saka, it must have been that direct line to the Kardashian household. It must have been, right? Did you see that? You saw that call, the video call? Okay. I don't know what it is, but Bukayo Saka is absolutely cooking right now. And as you said, 12 goals, 10 assists on the season. And we are, I believe, almost at single digits left, right? Almost at single digits left. For the time being, Arsenal has an 8-point lead at the top. And you tell me how many points you're expecting out of this for Arsenal. Leeds at home. Liverpool at Anfield, West Ham away, Southampton at home. Those are the next four Premier League fixtures.
I say minimal 9 points. Minimal 9 points. Ooh, okay. And before City, the City game that's the terrifying game. But if they get 9 points, because that Liverpool Anfield can be very tricky, I think it's a successful because Darwin Núñez tends to appear in these big games. And I love how you mentioned Martinelli. Martinelli is 3 goals away of becoming the all-time leading goal scorer for a Brazilian player in the Premier League. Firmino holds that record with 15 goals, and he's under 22, Martinelli. How isn't he in the Brazil national team? I know his friendlies, but Vinicius there. Martinelli should be there too. I'm not saying he's the same level as Vinicius, but he deserves to be a player that's always in the Brazil national team. So Martinelli, I think he's going to break the record of most goals scored by a Brazilian player in the Premier League. It's beautiful, man. And Ben White's adaptation. Ben White isn't selected by Southgate. Shambolic decision once again, just like Tomori. But Ben White, in this game with Crystal Palace, phenomenal. And big credit to Arteta in playing Ben White in the new role. Because he was a big price tag. And Ben White is performing for Arsenal to win the Prem, which is important. So, another shot.
Hey, listen, apparently defensive mid, 56 minutes in the Premier League will get you an England shout solely because there is not a lot of depth at defensive mid in the England national team. But I'm telling you, between Ben White, between Tomori, between Ward-Prowse, it's been a while since I've been irate at a Southgate announcement. And that one was just tough to swallow. But who knows? I mean, there's not plenty of time until these games. These are big games too. These are not friendlies like the Brazilian national team. I just hit my mic. I mean, these are not friendlies, right, for England. And you would think Southgate, I don't know. Instead of trying to fill the tactical depth chart with Calvin Phillips, 56 minutes on the year in the Premier League, you would expect a little versatility out of your professional players. Like, it just really doesn't make sense. But you know what? We're going to get to that later on.
It's true.
There's another plaudit there's another plaudit I have to throw out there today. You mentioned Saka, you mentioned Martinelli, and my goodness, Granit Xhaka, okay, has come from at one point being the villain of most Arsenal nightmares, right? To being one of the more celebrated players of this team. And I know that, certain periods of form and good play, and obviously where this team is and where this team lies in the table and what opportunity they have in front of themselves. Granit Xhaka has really done it all. I mean, gone from villain to hero.
True.
And I am here for this narrative. I am here for this rebirth. I am here for this exciting time for him. Because anyone that ever watched, right, those documentaries on Arsenal, you saw a guy that at one point it felt like he was going to get forced out. He was definitely going to get forced out. So what a time to be alive.
It's true. And another big, that's a huge point that you're bringing in, Breton. And it's the reason why I give enormous credit, once again, to Arteta. Arteta was the one who saved Xhaka's career at Arsenal. And if it wasn't for Arteta, I'm absolutely sure, he even said it himself, Xhaka, he wouldn't be at the club. So again, all these right decisions, Ben White adaptation, Saka becoming a leading player, Martinelli, Partey, Odegaard was the decision of being captain a couple of months back. And that was the right call because he leads by example, Odegaard. So if this is phase 3, in Arteta's words in his Arsenal project, I cannot wait to see what's phase 5. And everyone that's an Arsenal fan, be excited because a lot of right decisions are going to come through. Because Trossard and Jorginho even, look at what they impact. Hat-trick of assists Trossard had in the past games. So Arsenal, they got to compete though against tough matchup because it's historic players in the other side of Man City. And I'm going to say Erling Haaland, 42 goals scored this season. For people to get a perspective, Henry never scored more than 40 goals in England in his time. And Erling Haaland, in his first season at Man City, has 42 goals scored. 5 goals in a Champions League game, 2. He's the top scorer of the Champions League with 10 goals. He might be, like since Ronaldo, the first player to win a Ballon d'Or in the Premier League. He might be that guy. This season, Messi might win the Ballon d'Or, but the next, let's see. If he does,
and he scored 20% of those goals, right, in just the last 2 games. Okay, so Erling Haaland is at the point where he's breaking my brain when it comes to trying to process this. It's almost as if I've never seen a more boring 42 goals. I don't know how else to say it. Boring is definitely not exactly. Boring is definitely not the right way to say it. Yeah. It's almost indifference. Like, I love what Erling Haaland does. Okay. But this is exactly what you're looking at. This is the product of Erling Haaland being, put into a situation where he gets as many chances as he needs. And my goodness, he will definitely put them away. But it feels like Erling Haaland is going to be stuck on easy mode. Now, that doesn't guarantee Manchester City a Champions League final or a Champions League win. It also doesn't guarantee Manchester City a Premier League title.
True.
But what it does is Erling Haaland, in this particular setup, is going to continue to score goals. And I have never been desensitized to a 42-goal season. It's absolutely insane what is happening here. I should be more excited about it. I should be wanting it. I should be loving every aspect. This guy's also it's insane. Like, I see it and I go, I feel what Pep Guardiola is saying. Pep Guardiola is saying, he's become this hat-trick king. He needs to slow down in this sense. He needs to, space it out. He needs to score the big goals. Every time he gets out there, everybody is now going to expect a hat trick. I understand this about Erling Haaland. I am going through it right now. I'm going to call it Erling Haaland derangement syndrome because I don't know what else to call it.
He's amazing.
I really don't understand it.
He's amazing.
He is. He's insane. He's a freak of nature.
Of Erling Haaland. It's like, again, physically, Haaland is ridiculous. Yeah. His finishing is ridiculous. His left foot, right foot header, he's complete. Injuries are his biggest flaw, maybe, which I hope he will improve long term, becoming a better athlete with his body. But overall, in general, he's in the right place at the right time. That's why Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, City, the rebuild of Man City while they're still winning. Like he said it, Erling Haaland. City won 4 Premier League titles in 5 years. I didn't come to City to win the Prem. Because they know how to win the Prem. The Champions League is the reason why. And he scored 5 goals with RB Leipzig. He can do a hat-trick against Bayern Munich. And that's what City were missing against Real Madrid last year. They needed a finisher in the box. They needed a player that is world-class to make the difference. That ego to make it happen in the world's biggest stage. Haaland has it. And the shadow's Mbappe. Mbappe's not in the Champions League. So this is the time. This is the time for Haaland. Top goal scorer in the Champions League with 10 goals. Mbappe has 7. If he goes further in the Champions League and beats Bayern, look, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
But here's the thing, right? There's more than hunger for goals, right, that exists here for Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland, when he was at Dortmund, could not beat Bayern Munich. He could score.
True.
He scored, I believe, five goals in 7 games, maybe 6 goals in 7 games. But Erling Haaland could not beat Bayern Munich. Now,
I believe.
That obviously comes down to supporting cast. It comes down to the team built around you. But listen, I don't know. I will think that football in and of itself is broken if we get 2 back-to-back hat tricks in the home and away leg for Erling Haaland against Bayern Munich. I think, we'll talk about it later on. But Manchester City, this is the worst team that they could have drawn at this point in time in their Champions League journey.
Maybe Real Madrid, but we'll save that to later with the Champions League. But put down below, who do you think will win the Champions League? Because we're going to talk about that later in the podcast. With Man City, though, I just want to say, too, it was a rebuild year for Man City. And the top youth players of Man City, young players, Man City has Haaland with 42 goals scored and 5 assists. City has Foden with 13 goals and 8 assists, and Julian Alvarez that has 12 goals and 4 assists. Then you have a Cole Palmer that scored against Burnley in that 6-0 win, and you have a Rico Lewis highly involved. The youth players at Man City, the job that Guardiola's doing is amazing, even when he's winning games. So I just wanted to give credit to the young players at City because they're coming up too.
And well deserved too. But believe it or not, some of the most effective youth for Manchester City were in these FA Cup quarterfinals, or these FA Cup quarterfinals. So in that Burnley clash, right, we know that Vincent Kompany is a little bit of a protege of Mikel Arteta, and Mikel Arteta said, "Not now, young one, not now. Your time is not now. 6-0, here you go, take this L." But what Vincent Kompany has done with Burnley has been absolute. What did I say?
Arteta.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of both of the proteges, right? Mikel Arteta and So Vincent Kompany and Pep Guardiola, obviously they go way back. But listen, what Vincent Kompany has done at Burnley, right? And I know they got thrashed 6-0 here, but what he has done at Burnley deserves a lot of credit. I mean, Burnley won. Nobody has ever put Burnley in a sentence with decent football.
Facts.
Nobody.
And
ever,
going up,
right?
First in the championship.
And we could do a whole episode on what Vincent Kompany has brought to Burnley, what he's brought to the turf more. But one of the best players for this Burnley team has been Taylor Harwood-Bellis. And he is a Manchester City loanee center back. Now, even better, you ready for this?
And the winger.
FA Cup quarterfinal. Ready for this? One of the midfielders today for Sheffield United, the Blades, on loan from Manchester City, Tommy Doyle, 21 years old, scores I believe it was like a 91st minute golazo for them to beat Blackburn to punch their ticket to Wembley. Also Manchester City loanee. Okay, so it extends. I mean, there's a what's the word? There's a quality that's pervading all of Manchester City, even if they turn into a loan army. It's kind of reminiscent in some respects of Chelsea, except I believe there's a better job being done at turning these players over when they aren't going to play for Manchester City. Facts. Right? So it is really wonderful to see that, Pep Guardiola, not Arteta, Pep Guardiola's influence definitely, it hit 3 of these quarterfinalist teams in the FA Cup. And now I think Manchester City, they play Sheffield United next. So Tommy Doyle's going to get to take it to Pep Guardiola and his team if he wants to.
It's not. The
But you're
FA
right.
Cup is interesting now too. Even Ferguson.
It is.
I'm gonna give a shout out in the podcast because for me, Gavin Bazzuno, great talent too. Nathan Collins from Wolves, centre back, great talent too, Irish. But Evan Ferguson, he's the star boy of Ireland. 18 years old. He's got 7 goals scored this season for Brighton. He's the top goal scorer for a Premier League team in all competitions for a teenager. He's got with those 7 goals. And I can guarantee you a lot of teams in the Prem will need a number 9 in the future. And if he keeps developing physically, finishing, and technique, even Ferguson has it. So I really believe in him. World-class talent, like potential. I'm loving what I'm seeing with him at Brighton. And Brighton know how to develop. So Ireland, come on!
And a big test comes for Ireland, you know? I mean, we've got these European qualifiers coming up, these Euro qualifiers coming up, and Ireland has got to get some momentum because they have not been good for a long period of time.
Facts.
Trust that youth. Ida, Ferguson, Bazzuno, though, let's not talk about, he had a howler over this weekend, but he's young and he's done a whole lot more good for Southampton than he has done bad.
Facts. So, and you're mentioning that. So Southampton, I think it was a good weekend though. Like Bazzuno, he doesn't get any help with that defense. Salisu is amazing. Bella Kotchap is amazing. But the management at Southampton is atrocious. Atrocious in my opinion. And I'm going to, it's 3-3. They drew with Tottenham. And I'm going to agree with Conte. Conte is exposing the main problem of Tottenham, which is at the top, the management. And they haven't do justice to Harry Kane. Harry Kane is the top goal scorer ever of Tottenham, and he maybe will leave Tottenham without any trophies because of this atrocious management at the top that Conte is exposing by saying how ridicule the decisions are at Tottenham. So I just wanted to point that out. 3-3. Kane scored. He's always involved. So, my God.
I'm with you.
So
I'm with you. And while Conte has made mistakes on his own, there is no club that is just their manager. Exactly. Right? There is no manager that takes their club 99% of the way. So, I was not getting in the way when Antonio Conte was spitting facts. I did take maybe minor issue with going after the players as hard as he did. But you know what? Mourinho would have done the same thing. There's a whole host of managers that's how they motivate their players, by getting after them, getting after their character, getting after their will to win, not to compete. And that's what he was saying. But there is nothing scarier, especially to an American, than an Italian speaking English, right? And an Italian with that English, that accent coming at you. He looks so much madder than the words like that he's spitting out, so much angrier, that it just has this, it just goes right to your core. You're like, Antonio Conte is pissed off right now. And listen, he is right in the sense that, Pochettino couldn't get it done. Mourinho couldn't get it done. Conte is probably not going to get it done. And they're probably going to move on from him, but it's not going to fix the problem. And the problem is the ownership.
Facts. Daniel Levy.
It is the ownership.
It's the decisions. Yeah. Daniel Levy doesn't do the right decisions. It's incompetence at the top. I'm going to say it. I like Conte. It's just sad. Just sad to see how things are ending up at Tottenham. And I'm going to say to Udogie, at least Udogie, Porro, I think in terms of fullbacks, Tottenham will be fine. But, they spend money on Jade Spence. They spend money in the past in Lo Celso and Ndombele. Yeah. So much money that you end up thinking, with those players, you could have maybe gotten a top striker, a top midfielder, Barella, Bastoni. So, but Tottenham... It's a tough thing to talk about.
But you know what? Even if they save money on those and they could go back and have, a little bit of revisionist history here, they probably would have signed Scamacca. So maybe Scamacca would have turned out he would have turned out a whole lot better at Tottenham than he has at West Ham. And I guess he is starting to perk up right now, at least West Ham hopes. But Spurs it's a whole lot more than the manager. And we said it originally when Antonio Conte came in the door, that really all we're hoping for at Tottenham is a little bit of continuity. Somebody that they feel that they can grow with. The issue is they feel like they're in this upper echelon that they're competing with. At those runner-up years in the Premier League have definitely kind of warbled their mindset to feel like they always belong there, when they are still scrapping. They're still scrapping to be that top 5 and remain that top 5.
I agree. I agree. And the only thing, the only thing that from what you said in the past, like Conte, the way he motivates. Look, I really don't think Conte in his mindset. I think he doesn't care anymore. I think he doesn't want to stay at Tottenham. I think this press conference was him saying, "I'm not going to stay long term." And just think about next season. Who will coach Tottenham? Because it won't be me. I'm not happy. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. And look, seeing Arsenal losing to Sporting, okay, Ruben Amorim has a 30 million clause. I wouldn't be shocked if Tottenham were to activate that clause. Because he has a contract until 2026 too. So I just want to put that out there. Tottenham get Ruben Amorim for 30 million. That can happen. I'm not saying I want that to happen. That can happen. Look, he would change things. And without Kane, without Kane, Tottenham will need a restructure, total rebuild. Bochu's already there. And the tactics of Ruben Amorim. Mourinho talks to him in text on a weekly basis. And Guardiola's even praised him. Highly. Matheus Nunes came out of Ruben Amorim. Nuno Mendes came out of Ruben Amorim. But, like, so many top talents came out of Ruben Amorim, Palhinha. So I'm going to give big credit to Ruben, and I know he's going to be one of the best coaches in the world of football, Ruben Amorim. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
I'm going to say that.
I feel like there's a stepping stone before you get to Spurs that Daniel Levy feels like is absolutely paramount to have, right? You know, Espirito Santo, that was his name, right? Nuno?
English Bush,
Wolves, Oh, yeah, okay.
So and Ruben really is the prodigy. I'm going to say this. I wanted to say Arsenal lose to Sporting, and Sporting in their team have Ugarte, Pot, Diomande, Gonçalo Inácio, Chermiti, Dario Esugu. First game in 2023 with the first team. 18 years old, just turned, and Ruben Amorim starts all these players. And they're developing because of Ruben. If Ruben wasn't there, like, these players wouldn't be as good as they are. And I'm going to even say Sporting wouldn't be a semi-finalist in the Youth League because Ruben started to play Matheus Fernandes, Dario, Chermiti, all these youngsters very early with the first team. Very early. And now it's showing results. So
but at the same time, if you don't have that win at the Emirates, right? If you don't have that win at the Emirates, it has not been a great year for Sporting.
No, because they sold Matheus Nunes in the summer at the start of the season and Pedro Porro. So they automatically sold the two players to do the build-up play of the team. Key players. Yeah. So I think that Ruben, he extended this year. And it's just like let's see what happens with the development of Esugu, Chermiti. I think he knows what he has in the academy. So I think Sporting next season...
I'm saying...
Sorry, top contenders, Primeira Liga.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just saying, like Feyenoord has done the same thing, and they've taken steps up, right?
Fucked.
They got rid of Malacia. They got rid of Aursnes. They got rid of Sinisterra, right, to Leeds United. And Arne Slot's got them actually competing. I think he's 6 points ahead in the Eredivisie, but we'll talk about them in a second or two.
True.
I get it. And that win. I mean, he deserves, first off, that goal. That goal over Ramsdale's head. You want to talk about Slot? Let's talk about Arne Slot.
But Slot, with Europa League, but Slot to Tottenham even. Like, they need a manager that just changed things. Erik ten Hag, if he hadn't gone to United, type beat manager. So that's what Tottenham need. But tell us down below in the comment section if you agree with us about Tottenham. And in the Prem, I want to talk about Chelsea. Just say a bit about Chelsea. Like, Enzo Fernandes... Every game, every week, he keeps on getting better. And I'm going to say, in my opinion, Enzo Fernandes is going to be considered, in the next 3 years, one of the best midfielders in the world. You can already see the key role he has at Chelsea. And Felix scored the first goal in the Stamford Bridge. It's amazing to see the happiness he had, and very deserved. Very deserved. Yeah. So, two aspects that Chelsea are improving. So
well, if you're going to say something positive about Chelsea, you have to say something positive about Everton because they shared points, I might add.
True.
Exactly. And I also hear a lot of people saying that, Badiashile, Koulibaly, I mean, that defensive partnership, that defensive threesome in the back, it's getting better. But then you give up how many goals to one of the worst teams in the league?
I got
22-year-old Ellis Sims, or as they like to call him, Ellis Limbs, scores that late equalizer, right? For them to steal a point. And you've got Todd Bowley on video walking away saying that was a crap result. So I'm with you here. I'm all for, framing it in a positive light. There is no doubt, Enzo. There's no doubt. But once again, it does feel like there's just a meat grinder of personalities, a meat grinder of talent, a meat grinder of all of these guys that are learning each other, right? They are learning each other, and playing time is going to literally just dry up for a good portion of that roster. And I don't think, there's going to have to be dead weight that shouldn't be dead weight, but a lot of players are going to have to leave. And I'm just wondering, is Todd Bowley equipped for leaving, sending these players off, or is it just kind of keep hiring instead of firing?
No. Not Todd Bowley this summer. He'll fire a lot of people. A lot of players are going to go.
He'll fire him.
I think a lot of players are going to go.
We'll see if they get much value. But yeah, are you worried about Mudryk being on the bench unused?
No. But Mudryk, for me, still developing, still learning. Fofana, I think, will improve. And you mentioned the defense of Chelsea. I think Chelsea this season, the biggest positive at the end of it will be next season they will have a defense that knows how to play the Prem with Benoit Badiashile better, Wesley Fofana fully fit, Ben Chilwell starting, Reece James involved, and Enzo dictating from the back going forwards. So that shows a lot of security, and they need to get another midfielder to be the partner in crime, the right partner in crime of Enzo, like an Ugarte Florentin in the Primera Liga. Because, come on, Mason Mount, he's on the move. Mason Mount has a new agent, and I've seen videos of Mason Mount everywhere, but at Stamford Bridge. So it's sad, man. So Liverpool, they need a midfielder. I could see Mason Mount going to Liverpool and even United too. So that's always going to be a very interesting news until the summer. The Mason Mount rumors. Because he's definitely leaving. Yeah. I really believe now it's definite.
And now you think Liverpool over Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Arsenal for me, no. Shouldn't go for Arsenal. You shouldn't go to Arsenal. No. For me, it's United, Chelsea, Newcastle. Those are the three. Arsenal, no. Declan Rice, more. For me,
listen, I'm going to throw
Fabio Vieira. I like that a 10 rule. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw another name in there because you mentioned Ugarte, which would be, if everyone was actually hip to what João Palhinha provided before he went to Fulham, Ugarte is going to go for what Palhinha should have gone for originally when he went into the Premier League. But I'm going to throw another name in there because he was just called up to the French national team for the first time. I think Chelsea needs to be looking at Khéphren Thuram, right? Marcus Thuram's brother, Lilian Thuram's son, okay? And it's, I believe, I don't know if it's the first time or it's the first time in a long time, but Marcus Thuram and Khéphren Thuram have both been called up to Les Bleus for the first time, which is pretty amazing. But he is another guy, obviously different, Ugarte different, but very, very, very solid for OGC Nice this season. So definitely put him down because I could see that connection. I could see that happening. I could see Thuram wanting to come to the Premier League next step up, but we'll see.
I love how you're mentioning that. And it'd be crazy if Thuram and Thuram both gone to Chelsea because Chelsea need a player like him and they need a striker too. That his brother will be a free agent, Marcus Thuram. So that's the suggestion here in the FC Wonderkid episode 97. You guys heard it here first. But since we're talking here about selections, let's talk about the England one because we're mentioning Chelsea. How is Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips all called up ahead of a player like James Ward-Prowse that is absolutely unbelievable every week for Southampton? Another player, Tomori. How is it Tomori, a player that wins the man of the match in the Champions League, not selected for England? You see Lewis Dunk too for Brighton going bold, and you see Maguire getting selected. Maguire of all people. Tomori's disrespected so much. That was the biggest mistake of the Lampard era, to sell Tomori. Like, why? Why? He's so needed, even at Chelsea right now. So, disrespect. Underrated player, Tomori.
They brought in Havertz, right? Now, who did bring in? Fofana? I forget.
But still, Tomori.
It contributed to it.
Lukaku,
No, I agree.
Contributed to Lukaku, Mark Guehi, Tomori, and
Yeah.
who was the other one sold? But it gave Tammy Abraham. Tammy
Yes,
Abraham.
Tammy Abraham.
To
Right,
get
right.
Lukaku.
But I'm gonna, there is a party. There is a happy party here, right? And that's AC Milan. I think the Rossoneri are pretty dang happy that he's not going to be taking part, Tomori, in the international window. So he will be ready to go for Napoli on the horizon. But listen, I feel more for a guy like James Ward-Prowse. Okay, listen, I understand. I guess I understand from a tactical cover perspective, right? You've got Declan Rice, and then you need another guy that's basically Declan Rice, but not, whatever. Okay. So, but that says a lot about the DM. That says a lot about the depth of defensive midfielders, I guess, in England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in England, but as part of England, because behind that, who do you got? Like Jack Kolbach? No, James Ward-Prowse can play DM. He can. Is it his best? It is his strong suit? No. Eric Dyer can play DM. I know that. But James Ward-Prowse offers you other things as well. And for a guy that's 28, I mean, let's be honest. If he was anywhere but Southampton right now, he would be called up. He'd be a shoo-in pretty much every time.
Exactly.
So I just don't get it.
Be in Serie A. James Ward-Prowse just couldn't be in Serie A. That's what if he was in the top 6 in the Prem, they will be caught up. And Southgate's selection, the dubious decisions. I'm not saying he should have called up all these players, but Tammy Abraham, Lewis Dunk, I have Ben White, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Oh my days, he's never called up for Southgate. And like it makes you think, how will they get called up for England? What do they need to do to get this call up? That's why that's my biggest question. Even Tony, though, he was called up. Okay, to see him there is a positive in my opinion, though. But still, Southgate, if I don't believe these are the selections to win a World Cup one day, to win a Euros one day. If you're going to win those titles internationally, you're going to play the best players at the moment. Not Mount Gallagher instead of a James Ward-Prowse, in my opinion. I got to say that. I've got to say that.
Euro qualifiers, man. These are not inconsequential. This is Italy coming up, and it's not just Italy. It's Italy that just missed out on a World Cup. And they are absolutely ready to turn the tables.
True.
Or at least that's their hope.
He better start Rashford, Saka, and Foden. Okay, these selections aren't the best about Southgate, but please start these 3 players. They're the creativity and they're the most informed players, English players, and Jude Bellingham, of course, world-class player at 19. So please, man, start these 4 players, Southgate. That's the minimal that should be happening. Okay, so I wanted to say that. Sad, man. Sad decisions.
It is.
And sad decisions, but weird decisions that I wasn't expecting was to see Thomas Muller not being selected, Rudiger not being selected, Sané and Gundogan. It's the beginning of a new era for the Dachmannschaft. You see Berisha there.
Page.
You see Wirtz there. Jamal Musiala, I'm going to say the best player of the Dachmannschaft right now. And Schlotterbeck, one of the most informed young center backs in the world. A new era with Hansi Flick. And I wanted to give that shot because it's strange not to see Muller there. Strange.
It's the turning of a page. Absolutely. And I feel like he's actually, Hansi Flick has done a good job at basically saying, it's time. Mm-hmm. It's time. I mean, they do have a squad capable of qualifying for Euros, even without Thomas Muller. We'll see, because if they lose 1 or 2, you better believe he's on his way back in. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, I can't be any more happy for Florian Wirtz. Okay, after what this kid has been through, we've mentioned it multiple times. Obviously, you look at his fixtures throughout 2023 since he's come back from a massive 10-month layoff, and you go, well, this kid was never injured. But for him to, I'm ready for the Florian Wirtz. He's only got 4 caps to his name. So I am ready for the Florian Wirtz era with Jamal Musiala. I'm ready for this era to start.
It's an era. It's really an era because those are the 2 players with the highest potential in that German team. Karim Adeyemi too involved. And you might say, Schlotterbeck in terms of center back too. But Kimmich, I want to give a shout out. Kimmich captain, big role. And big responsibility now at Bayern too. So national teams. I got to mention my own. That's Portugal too. And just so I don't forget, if we're talking Germany, Reus,
Yeah.
Marco Reus became the all-time goal scorer of Dortmund with 160 goals. What a legacy he had. And he picked to stay at Dortmund. Not like Hummels, not like Lewandowski, that they left.
Yeah.
Okay, Hummels came back, but Reus could have gone anywhere in the world. And he picked to stay at Dortmund. Big shout out to that. I know
What
if
a
it
guy.
wasn't for injuries, too. Oh, the injuries took us for such an enormous career. So Thomas Müller, though, like era versus Marco Reus, we'll remember those games, like 15 years in the making. So that was 10 years at least, a decade of these matchups. Reus Lewandowski partnership against like Müller at the time, like the tension, amazing. So I wanted to say that. But mentioning Portugal. Roberto Martinez, I'm not going to hate on it, okay, because I see a lot of new territory for the Portuguese national team here. Because Roberto Martinez, you, sir, went bold by getting 6 center backs in your first selection. Gonçalo Inácio and Diogo Leite, the two ones I'm going to point out because they're tall and left-footed center backs, okay? He's trusting the youth, and they're going bold for Sporting and Union Berlin, respectively. I wasn't expecting that. And no William Carvalho. So I'm happy about that, personally. So I wanted to give credit to that. And I hope Roberto Martinez, my big message for everyone at home, too, is please, Roberto Martinez, start Gonçalo Ramos. He scored in 5 consecutive games no Estádio da Luz in his last 5 games for Benfica. And Gonçalo Ramos, across all competitions, Gonçalo Ramos has 28 goals scored. Darwin left Benfica with 34 goals scored across all competitions. Gonçalo's going to surpass that this season with club and country. I really believe Gonçalo Ramos will get a big move, and he deserves to be the starter for Portugal. Bora lá, Gonçalo. Keep going, Gonçalo Ramos. So
yeah, definitely keep going. But I have an issue, and I'm surprised you're not as angry as I am about it. I have all the love for Ruben Neves. I have all the love for Matheus Nunes. Okay, but they're both deep in a relegation battle. Matheus Nunes figured out a way to get red carded on the bench over the weekend. Okay, I don't understand why Roberto Martinez in his first Portugal squad with Liechtenstein and Luxembourg on the horizon. Why would you not have Florentino Luis in there?
I said it.
If this is a meritocracy, you can't have 2 more favorable fixtures for him to get his feet wet, for him to get his first cap, for people to understand that this man, Florentino, okay, he has been arguably the most important midfielder, if not field player, for Benfica this season.
One of the most important, yes. Definitely.
And definitely one of the most, but I'm midfielder, him with João Mario, with Gonçalo Ramos,
Arsens.
Absolutely with Arsnes. Yep. I got it. But man, you couldn't have asked for a better time to say, I see you. I want to hand you your first caps, and I just want to let you know that it is going to be a battle in the future, because this is not me saying Matheus Nunes is a bad player. It's not me saying Ruben Neves is a bad player, but my goodness, what more does Florentino have to do?
Completely agree.
Leading Liga Portugal. He's literally in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, starting for one of the hottest teams on the planet right now. And you're telling me he does not deserve his first cap?
And one of the players with the most tackles and interceptions in the Champions League. Definitely in the top 5. Definitely in the top 5 list. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. I love that take, Breton. I think you hit the money, okay, because of the importance of the games and the involvement that he deserves to have with the first team. It would be the first time. And look, this is what annoys me. João Mario did get called up. Gonçalo Ramos did get called up. Great. But Florentino didn't. And Grimaldo didn't for Spain. Grimaldo is one of the best left backs in the world. I said top 10 this season in terms of form because he's crucial on that left side for Benfica. Grimaldo is better than José Gaia. Better than José Gaia that got that call up for Spain. Not Alejandro Balde. I love Alejandro Balde. He's key and young at Barca. But Grimaldo is better than Gaia this season. So I wanted to say that in pod with the international team. Because, oh, come on, he deserves it. He deserves it.
And that's Spain. I mean, I'm like, that's one of the international fixtures to watch. This is one of the Euro qualifiers to watch. It is Norway versus Spain. And Spain is not only going to be without Grimaldo, but they're also without Pedri. They did not call up Ansu Fati. No Eric Garcia or Ferran or those that we've seen previously. I think not even Asensio is in the squad. So, this is going to be a really, really interesting Spanish squad going up against a Norwegian team that actually needs to see progress. I think everyone here is going, listen, Haaland, he's got to go bold. Odegaard's got to go bold. You got to see Frederick Arsnes.
Yes.
I have to ask you right now, how many caps do you think Frederick Arsnes has for the Norwegian national team?
Oh, considering he's played 32 games like for Benfica this season, I think he must have like more than 20. He does 15?
10.
Okay.
10.
Okay.
10 caps. He's 27, right? He's not a spring chicken, right? He is not young, right? And when it comes down to it, like, he is part of Arne Slot's, Feyenoord kind of resurgence here as they look for relevance in the Eredivisie and beyond. But Arsnes, for him to go to Portugal and to establish himself, not just in Portugal as one of the better midfielders, but also in the Champions League, for him to do that, I was absolutely shocked. So it's another piece. It's another piece of this Norwegian puzzle that kind of presents itself as somebody you can rely upon. Now you've got Odegaard, you've got Arsnes, you've got Haaland. Now you need to find who's going to be the Henning Berg, right? Who's going to be the Tour Andre Flo? Well, that's
got
Haaland.
A lot of players.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
I mean, the last players coming up too. I agree.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
But listen, the last time Norway has qualified for literally anything of importance was 1998 World Cup and the 2000 Euros.
Haaland's gonna get that was
done. The heyday.
And they're gonna get through a group stage one day. I really believe that. The future of Norway is going bold. Odegaard, Haaland.
It is.
Arsens, in my opinion, is one of the best Benfica players I've seen in the past 3 years. He's just brilliant. And for 15 million, the steal. Oh. But tell us down below your thoughts about international games. What you think, the surprises you can see. Because right now, we got Europa League. No, Breton. You mentioned Feyenoord. And Arne Slot, he's doing an amazing job because Feyenoord have a 6-point lead with Captain Arkun Koksu leading the team. Santiago Jimenez going so bold. 4 million buy. What a bargain. And I'm going to say Feyenoord, they're going to play against Roma. And I wouldn't be surprised. A Conference League final last year, I wouldn't be surprised if they gone through because they did beat Shakhtar 7-1. So what a week for Feyenoord fans. Beating Ajax for the first time in Amsterdam since 2005, and they win 7-1 in the Conference League. What a result. What a result. And without Sinistere, without Arsens, without Senesi, and
without Malacia.
And without Malacia. Yeah. So what a rebuild.
If I'm Jose Mourinho, I'm shaking in my boots right now with them coming. No, but listen, this is a Feyenoord squad that also remembers last year's Europa Conference League final. I mean, they've got their eyes on the prize. They've lost it before, and now they're in the Europa League, and they have a chance to go far. And I do see them. They are one of my dark horses right now. I feel like they've got the talent. They've got the coming together. I mean, David Hanko in defense, Geertruida in defense, only 22 years old. He just got his first call up to the Dutch national team. Well-deserved. Orkun Koksu. Arne Slot deserves so much more credit than he's getting. Mm-hmm. And this is his second big managerial role. He was at AZ Alkmaar previous to this. And he's got himself like a 63% win percentage.
Whoa.
Win percentage. Okay, and that's in European competitions too. So 6 points. I mean, to win the Klassiker, right, and to beat Ajax at the death, and to compete, as you said, with losing all those parts. Feyenoord is, we can talk about Xavi Simons and PSV and how amazing that story is right now, and we can talk about some of the guys going bold for Ajax. But when it comes down to it, Feyenoord is the best story in the Eredivisie right now, and I think in the Europa League. I think in the Europa League.
Sigil was. It's another great story too. Yeah, and I'm sure you know a lot about that, and we're going to talk about that too. But Arne Slot, I just want to say, I think he's going to be the next manager leaving the Eredivisie, like Erik ten Hag, that's going to a top team in Europe. Arne Slot. And I love the shout-out that we're giving. With a 19-game unbeaten streak too, big credit to what he's doing. Because that ain't easy with the level of competition that he has in the Eredivisie. Strong PSV, strong Ajax. Ajax with Tadic doing everything he can in that game for them to get a point at least. Kudus, hard point, a hard win that they managed to do since 2005, like I said. But Europa League time. So Feyenoord Rome. Getting your thoughts on this. So Feyenoord Rome, you're gonna go bold with Feyenoord, Breton?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Feyenoord wins.
José Mourinho, bora lá, pá. José Mourinho, show up. I'm gonna side with Roma though because of José Mourinho. The impact he has in the you knew. So leading up to the team, you said with an interesting story too, St. Gilloise Leverkusen. That my days, these two teams, they trust the youth.
I mean, yeah, it's. I love this matchup. Not just because we're FC Wonderkid. We've talked about Leverkusen to no length, right? I mean, we've talked about Leverkusen, especially since Xabi Alonso picked up, especially since Flo Wirtz is back.
Yes,
their defense between Kosunu and between who's the other Piero Hincapi, Tapsoba. We love them all. We love Leverkusen. I love this matchup. But I love it more because of Union Saint-Gilloise. 2 years ago, they were not even promoted into the Belgian Pro League. Okay, it has been 60 plus years since they were in any European competition.
Oh my god!
All right, and in 2 years' time, they went from being promoted to finishing second and leading the Pro League last season for like the majority of the year before they were pipped at the end. And now they have found themselves in a major Europa League quarterfinal against, one of the more fun FC Wonderkid teams to talk about. But there's two in particular we have to watch here because this team, if you don't know it, Union Saint-Gilloise is actually owned by the same owner as Brighton. And you know that I love Brighton
Brentford,
because of their trans policy. Brighton.
Is Brighton? Oh my days,
it is
even better.
Brighton. Yeah, younger dude too, right? Younger dude. I think he even plays poker on the side or something. But listen, Brighton owning them, for me, it hits home with that transfer policy because we all know it. And one of their biggest stars right now, Simon Adingra, who just got his first call up to the Ivory Coast, to Côte d'Ivoire. Simon Adingra is a winger who has been absolutely lights out for them. And I think, Leverkusen has not necessarily been great defensively this season. You're going to see Adingra, and you're going to see 21 or 22-year-old Victor Boniface, who is a Nigerian striker, part of this ridiculous core of Nigerian strikers that just can't stop going bold this season. You are, if you do not know these two names, you are going to know these two names by the end of these fixtures.
I love it. I love how you're mentioning that. Because I've got the stats on them this season. And Boniface, Nigerian striker, 22 years old, has 19 goals scored and 7 assists. And Adingra has 12 goals and 11 assists for Royal St. Gilloise. You said a team that was not even in the first division 3 years ago. That's insane, the level of management. They're the Brighton of Belgium. Or maybe the Leicester. Maybe the Leicester of Belgium.
It could be, but listen to this. Okay, so last season, they had 50 or so goals from other places that are all gone. Denis Undav, where do you think he went? Brighton. He signed for Brighton. He actually just scored in the FA Cup, booked them a trip to Wembley. I believe they're playing Manchester United in the semifinals, who ended up beating Fulham, right? But, okay, Denis Undav left. Dante Van Zier went to New York Red Bulls in Major League Soccer. He had like 20-plus goals for them last season when they almost won the league. They got rid of him. And guess who else they got rid of? Matoma. Kaoru Matoma played for Saint-Gilloise last year on loan from Brighton and is now back at Brighton, and we know what everybody knows his name now.
One of the best dribblers in the world.
Exactly. So Adingra and Boniface, I don't know how to actually say his name, but you got to watch. And Teddy Tuma is the guy that keeps it all together.
Yeah.
Okay, he's this Maltese midfielder. I think he's the captain for Malta. He's 29. He has been their the guy that has kept them together these last few seasons. So I love this story. As you can tell, I am prone to loving an underdog story. So Leverkusen, I'm going to have to say I'm going to root for Union Saint-Gilloise, although I think Leverkusen does definitely have the quality to get by them. I mean, Moussa Diaby is not going to go down without a fight.
That's true. Good point. And Jeremy Frimpong too, for me, one of the best wingbacks in the world of football right now. I'm gonna say, and Wirtz too as a talent. But you sided with Feyenoord. I sided with Roma. I'm gonna side with Leverkusen. You're gonna side with?
I'll go with my heart on this one. I'll say Union Saint-Gilloise. But
that'd be bold, man. Xabi Alonso, get it done. He can get that done. I can get that done.
But like that makes way for probably the more exciting. I mean, you've got like these two fixtures are pretty good. And Manchester United versus Sevilla. This is not like Sevilla's terrible in La Liga. But Sevilla knows how to win a Europa League. So does Manchester United. But Sevilla knows how to get it done. With that said, do you see Sevilla having any sort of a shot against Manchester United?
I think they do have a shot, but I really think this game will show that Erik ten Hag is now the manager of Man United and things are different. Yeah. The culture is being instilled now, and Erik ten Hag won a League Cup, and if he's going to change the culture at Man United, he's got to win this Europa League too, in my opinion. Marcus Rashford is the most informed player in Europa League right now, in my opinion, with 6 goals scored, and I don't see him stopping against Sevilla. I think he will score 2, and they will go to the semifinals, in my opinion. I side with Man United on this one.
Yeah.
I really do.
And I'm gonna join you on that because there's just too much disarray at Sevilla. It's gonna take Man United beating themselves, which has happened before, for Sevilla to come out on top in this one. So I think one of the more juicy. I mean, Sporting would have been Arsenal versus Juve, but it's Sporting Juve, and I gotta say momentum. I think you're gonna like my pick.
Wow.
I think you're gonna like my pick in this one.
No, you're going for Sporting.
I think I might.
What? I know Juventus has been atrocious, but Juventus need the Europa League more than anyone because they're not getting.
And that's why they're going to lose.
Look, Sporting, we're going to remember this team with Ugarte, Pot, and we're going to most importantly remember Ruben Amorim and what he's doing. And it would be a huge statement for Ruben Amorim to go far in the Europa League. If that happens, I could see it happening, though. I could see it happening. And Diamant people, look, in the video of Sporting I mentioned, go check out on our YouTube channel. Yeah. Like, Diamant, legitimately, is one of the best young under-20 center-backs in the world right now. The game he played against Arsenal, the quality he had, the confidence he had on ball, it was special. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. Because now Sporting fans don't even think about Kovac leaving. It's Gonçalo Inácio, Diamant, and St. Just in the future. And that's, like, amazing trio of center-backs, in my opinion. So...
Yeah, and Coates did not play against Arsenal.
Not needed. He is important. He's the captain. He's the leader. Well, he's the leader. He's the voice on the pitch. But I think you need more leaders to be done. And I think long term we have. But I like that mention. I like that mention.
And I think, when it comes down to Juve right now, they go the way Dusan Vlahovic goes.
Di Maria.
Dusan Vlahovic... and Di Maria, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Di Maria.
But Vlahovic for me has been kind of their. He's starting to heat up again, I suppose. It's whether or not Sporting doesn't have a Vlahovic. Let's just say that.
True, but true, and Chiesa too. That's another player too that I really think Chiesa back for Juventus. That's why they need a top manager. Chiesa's there. Vlahovic is there. Bremer. What a center back he is. He can do everything, Bremer. Yes. So they have players, Juventus. They can do a young curve for the future, but they don't have the manager. So I think if Sporting win and they go through against Juventus, I think it just pushes even more for Allegri to leave, which is something positive for next season, in my opinion. I hate Allegri ball. I'm going to say it. I think the best times of Allegri have passed. So, let's it'll be interesting. But tell us down below if you agree with our Europa League picks for these games. And, tell us yours in the comment section. And like the video if you're enjoying until now. But this is the most important topic. This is the topic I want to know your juice here, President. I want to know your predictions with the Champions League because, oh my days, man. Let's start with a Chelsea Real Madrid because Pulisic is there and Potter needs a win.
I love how you just called him Pulisic. But yeah, Pulisic is there. No, listen, Real Madrid, Chelsea, all I have to say is Karim Benzema has scored his last 10 Champions League goals against English competition. Okay? You can fact check me on this. We've got 4 goals versus Chelsea in last year's quarterfinals, 3 goals versus Manchester City in last year's semifinals, and 3 goals versus Liverpool, just last week or so. Okay? I am going to say it right now. I suspect that this streak will continue, and I suspect that Karim Benzema then will likely might go up against English competition in the semifinals as well. And that streak will continue once again, where he literally will only score in 5 sets of fixtures, will only score against English competition. But listen, the only thing you got here is if Chelsea's momentum, I know that they just tied Everton, but if Chelsea's momentum is real, this is one way to show it.
Exactly.
This is one way to show it, man. I mean,
exactly. The glimpses of success that we were mentioning with Arteta and Ten Hag that he has in his first 6 months. If Potter goes through against Real Madrid, one of the contenders. Chelsea doesn't even need to win the Champions League. But if Chelsea goes through with Real Madrid, that's the statement that Graham Potter needs. Enzo Fernandez versus Chouameni and Camavinga will be an elite matchup. And if they're going to do something against Real Madrid, it's from the right back spot. And Mudryk, attention's going to be on Mudryk against Carvajal because that's where they can do damage. And João Felix knows Real Madrid too. So these are big points for Chelsea, but I don't believe they'll go through. I believe Real Madrid is going to go through. Why? Because just like Ancelotti, I do believe, like Ancelotti said, Vinicius Junior is the best player in the world right now. Ancelotti said this. He affirmed this. And at 22, Vinicius is one of the best Brazilian players I've ever seen in La Liga. And that's a big talk. Ronaldinho, Ronaldo Nazario, you got huge. Neymar peak. Vinicius at 21 has that experience and he has a key role for Real Madrid. So I think he's going to destroy Chelsea, in my opinion. I mean, Vinicius.
And he can still get so much better. He can still get so much better. Exactly. And listen, I love Reece James, but I am going to pull out the popcorn to watch this Reece James Vinicius Jr. Battle. But there's so much to like about this. There's so much to like about this side of the bracket. Why? Real Madrid, Chelsea, the winner of that plays the winner of the next fixture we're going to talk about, which is Manchester City, Bayern. But on the other side, you've got 3 Italian teams, of which there have not been 3 Italian teams in the Champions League quarterfinals, I think, since like 2006, 2005. It's been a very, very long time since we've had this type of, Italian strength. And it's not Juve. It's not Juve, which is just shocking. But when it comes down to it, I love knowing, in some respects, I love knowing that one of Inter or Napoli or AC Milan or Benfica is going to be in the final. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I know most people don't like that because you feel like you might want to set this up for like a Bayern Real Madrid final or a City Real Madrid final. But listen, that's why you draw these things. But anyway. But back to Manchester City, Bayern, man. I mean, do you think João Cancelo is going to get his revenge?
But wait, who do you think's going through? So Real Madrid against Chelsea, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you with Real. And Man City, Bayern, come on. What an interesting matchup it is, too. I think this is going to be Haaland's most important 2 fixtures in his career against Bayern Munich. Like a rival that he knew well at Dortmund. And after scoring those 5 goals against RB Leipzig, the whole world is going to be watching this matchup against Bayern Munich. And if he wants to win a Ballon d'Or, these are the statements that Erling Haaland has to do. He has to beat Bayern, and he then has to beat Real Madrid, most probably, or Chelsea if they go bold. Haaland has to carry Man City and Pep Guardiola in the Champions League if he's going to be discussed with the greatest in the game. So that's why I'm so excited for this. And Casillo can play. João Casillo can play against Man City. And if he plays, I surely expect them to go bold. And this is the biggest chance that the Prem teams or even Real Madrid have to beat Bayern Munich, in my opinion. Because there's no Lewandowski. Sure. No Lewandowski. No. That's the biggest problem of Bayern Munich right now. I know Choupo-Moting scoring goals, Muller's involved, but no Lewandowski is a problem. So
and anytime like Bayern has just been absolutely on a tear as of late, right? And it looks as if they were going to run away with the Bundesliga, and then I'm telling you,
no,
they lost to Leverkusen.
Dortmund,
they lost to Leverkusen over the weekend.
I told you guys.
And Dortmund now takes sole lead of. So every time I think Bayern is going to start running away with it, they pull you right back in. They pull you right back in with it. So I don't know if that makes it a toss-up for me. I still think Bayern is the unit, but I'm going to tell you, Haaland, as much as we feel Haaland is the guy, Kevin De Bruyne is slowly inching his way back to peak form. He's slowly inching his way back to peak form. I know he's not there yet. What a time to reintroduce yourself. What a time to literally become the guy, because you're absolutely right. All attention is going to be on Erling Haaland. But I think it's going to be Kevin De Bruyne that makes the difference here. And even then, I still haven't decided who I think is going to win. I mean, I still think Bayern Munich has been here before. They know how to get it done. But then again, Manchester City was, I mean, they've also been here before.
And the thing, too, with Bayern is they're instilling a culture with so many youngsters involved, too. With Kimmich captain, you have Alphonso Davies there, Upamecano, De Ligt, Musiala. They got youth players, too. And they're learning. Champions League winner already, a lot of them. Fonzie and Musiala, those two, they won a Champions League. At 17, Musiala was. Photo next to Neymar, we'll never forget that. And he was involved in that. So I think, I'm going to side with Man City, though. I'm going to side with Man City because this is the best chance of Pep Guardiola since he's been at Man City to win a Champions, in my opinion, Champions League.
Okay.
I'm going to say that. Because, there's a stat. If Man City beats Bayern Munich, last time that Pep Guardiola won a Champions League, he did beat Bayern Munich, too, with Barca in the quarterfinals. So we could see on a run Man City, and it's history repeating itself. So that's an interesting stat too. And let's see. Tell us down below who do you think will go through in this matchup. But
I'm gonna just tell you one thing before we move on from this. Erling Haaland has lost all 7 times that he's played against Bayern. Okay, and my reason.
It's going to change.
Behind why exactly. I think that it is. I'm deciding right now on this camera. I do believe Manchester City will get by Bayern Munich. And I think it's because of that. I think Erling Haaland, it might not be a hat trick a game. He might not add to his 6 hat tricks this season. But I do believe that Erling Haaland wants it so much. That I think Manchester City will get it done. I'm more worried about whether or not Bayern can pick apart that defense.
But if he scores a hat trick, oh my days, the scenes. I could see it happening. Like with Haaland, I'm not going to say I couldn't see that happening anymore. Since he's now have 28 Premier League goals scored, 5 goals in the Champions League in 57 minutes. And he scored 9 goals when he was a youth, for the under 20 of Norway. So I'm not going to say I don't see that happening with Erling Haaland anymore. I could see that.
No, and Erling Haaland single-handedly devalued Josko Gvardiol by about 20 million euros when he got manhandled in that game versus Leipzig. Listen, Gvardiol is phenomenal and still the best or one of the best young center backs on the planet. But my goodness, Erling Haaland, when he gets going, I don't know. And Bayern Munich, they've done this before. I mean, this is a team. I know this isn't the same team, but this is a team that has demoralized Lionel Messi himself.
True.
So
true. But I see a better team in terms of unit and tactics at City than at PSG. I think, yeah, man,
Okay.
the PSG is a whole different topic. Like 2 seasons with Messi,
Yeah.
they never gone through the quarterfinals. Messi's not the problem,
Yeah.
guaranteed. The problem is playing with Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe together. You cannot win a Champions League with them together. It's been shown with time. Mbappe, I think he's frustrated. So Real Madrid every single season will be more likely that he'll go to the El Galacticos. But mentioning the Champions League, so City Bayern, that's wrapped up. And now, Benfica Inter. I was so happy, Breton, personally. This might be clipped in the future. Say, ha ha ha, you shouldn't have been that happy. But seeing Inter play Porto without Otavio, man of the match, Onana, Sanyanoglu, played a good game too. But Onana, definitely man of the match in my opinion. I think Benfica can go through in style. So I'm going to definitely pick Benfica on this. João Mario.
Okay.
He's got more than 15. He's got, I think, 17 goals scored in the league for Benfica.
Yeah.
What a season with Roger Schmidt. And Arsens is one of the most underrated midfielders in the world of football because he's not goals and assists. He's just involved in everything, and he makes everything happen. Pressure, involvement with the team, goals happen because Arsens is involved in the play. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah, and as far as form goes, Benfica could not be any more in form. They've lost to the same squad, right? The same Braga squad twice this season, but that's in 44 fixtures, in 44 separate fixtures. Benfica, I guess their boogeyman is Braga. Only 2 losses. And you're drawing a team that, of course, has Lukaku in body form, right? He, of course, has Lautaro. Of course, has Barella. And some phenomenal pieces. But these same pieces lost to Spezia. These same pieces recently lost to Bologna. These same pieces are almost, they're not going to piss away their Champions League bid, in my opinion. But they've been pretty inconsistent. And there is a lot that needs to happen from now until the day that Inter actually faces off with Benfica, which I believe is like April 11th or something like that, less than a month from now, for me to feel like Inter, this is funny, but for me to feel like Inter has a chance versus Benfica. I don't think this is a David Goliath. I don't think that this is one team is so much better than the other. Benfica has shown that they're, in my opinion, the better team this season. And it just comes down to whether or not they can do it on the day or on the week, right? Since a week goes between the 2 legs. But I'll say it too, Benfica over Inter.
I love it. Roger Schmidt, man. And I just want to say this shout too. I think in my lifetime, this is the best I've ever seen the top 3 teams in Portugal with managers. Ruben Amorim with Sporting, amazing management. Sérgio Conceição with Porto, special coach. And Roger Schmidt with Benfica, elite management. Only 2 losses with Braga that you mentioned. The boogeyman fucked right there. And the last matchup is the team that's playing the best football in Europe. 18 points ahead in Serie A. No one can go close, and that is Napoli. Osimhen has 21 goals. Osimhen, 21 goals scored in the league, and Kvishe Kvaratskhelia in the league with 12 goals and 10 assists. Unbelievable form. Yeah. And if Kvishe was not Georgian, if he was Brazilian or English, oh my days, 200 million would be the price. I even see some people comparing Kvishe and Saka. That's ridiculous. Kvishe is much better than Saka right now, in my opinion. Much better. Like, it can't be comparable. Body balance, brilliance, genius, goals, involvements, the way he reads the game. Saka is a great player, generational talent for Arsenal, but Kvishe just has the edge, in my opinion. Okay, and I think that's the right thoughts, but tell us down below if you disagree with me with this Kvishe-Saka debate. I wanted to mention that. Osimhen and Kvishe.
Listen, but AC Milan has the tools to beat Napoli. They do. They do have the tools to beat Napoli. I mean, they've shown it before. I'm going to say that if there was a team so far in 2023 that has somehow navigated their way to hell and then back, it has been AC Milan. True. It has been the Rossoneri. And they've got their big pieces back. But as it stands, it's really one-dimensional, Alex. It's one-dimensional. If Victor Osimhen scores, okay, Napoli are right now, they have won 19 in 19 games when Victor Osimhen scores. Okay? So, here's a simple idea for you, AC Milan. Keep Victor Osimhen from scoring, and we'll see what happens.
Impossible. Lobotka too. The work rate he has in that team. Kvisha and Osimhen are the main man, but Min-Jae Kim, Lobotka, Matias Oliveira, I just can't see Napoli and AC Milan stopping them. I really can't.
And listen, the assembly of this team, I still think, is going to either go down as the largest stroke of luck and fortune, or it is such meticulous planning and just such great bargain hunting that Spalletti, and I don't know who is above Spalletti that does a lot of the sporting conversations for Napoli. But my goodness, we said it in the last De Laurentiis. That rings a bell. Well done. But we've talked about it multiple times. We have to say it over and over again. I don't know if it's going to be replicated anytime soon, but you look at how they assembled this squad and what they have gotten out of these guys. I'm not going to lie. I love what AC Milan has done, but I clearly want Napoli to go through here. I do. I want to see this happen. And it has been a long time since Napoli has been able to. Now, I don't like and I don't condone what obviously happened in their hometown during their most recent Champions League. But at the same time, separate of all that, from a footballing perspective, Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen, Lobotka, Zielinski, Min-Jae Kim, all of these guys. This story, this story is just a beautiful story, and I want to see it continue. So I am going to pick Napoli over AC Milan, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people are given AC Milan credit for.
That's a very fair point. And Napoli, for its context, they didn't let the Frankfurt fans come in. And if Benfica goes through against Inter, man, a lot of people will be traveling from Portugal to Napoli. And if they don't get tickets in, that's going to be devastated. I know a lot of people that will be very sad if they buy a ticket and if they're not allowed to watch the game. That's ridiculous if that happens.
It is.
So please, we believe it's going to be Napoli Benfica in the next round.
Yep.
And we believe it's going to be Real Madrid Man City. People, put your picks down below of what do you believe will happen in the European competitions. This was a fantastic chat. And I have a last shout in the pod because I wanted to ask you, Breton. I see so much news about this.
Yes.
Patrick Vieira, Thierry, U.S. men's national team? Is it going to be Claudio Reyna managing his son? Not being a general manager?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started on that whole Claudio Reyna thing. Claudio Reyna, just read. Never mind. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Yes. Well, you can play Gio Reyna, but let's just say that the Reynas do not come out, meaning the parents, not Gio. The Reynas do not come out looking very flattering in whatever recently came out of that investigation between Berhalter and the Reynas and all that stuff. It's not good at all. It's not a good light, and I am so excited to move on from it at some point. But the only thing that's ever going to put that, kind of in the rearview mirror is actually finding a new coach. And yes, the names being bandied about right now, one is Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry had a pretty disastrous, I'm going to say it, managerial stint at the Montreal Impact.
True.
Okay. To where he was seen basically just assuming that everybody should have the God-given talents that he does. Now, Thierry Henry is great as an analyst. Thierry Henry is legendary as a player. But from a managerial perspective, I don't see how that is a fit in any way, shape, or form. Because frankly, aside from what I hear is a good, productive stint as an assistant coach for Belgium, Thierry Henry should have taken that French women's national team coaching position to start, because he has not had a good. I'm going to say this right now. I'd rather take Patrick Vieira, recently led off by Crystal Palace, and understandably so. I would rather take Patrick Vieira than Thierry Henry at this point.
Would you take Patrick Vieira ahead of Jesse Marsch?
Yeah. No.
That's the man you want, Bretson. That's the man you want. You want Jesse Marsch for the U.S. men's national team.
Until I can come up with do I think he's a perfect solution for this at the moment? No. I mean, would I rather see, believe it or not, Jesse Marsch actually cut his teeth and do well in the Premier League? I would have rather have seen that. I would have traded that than have Jesse Marsch as part this early in the cycle as part of the U.S. men's national team. But as it stands, Jesse Marsch, and then I'm going to say it, and I really hope it doesn't come true. I would love to see Jim Curtin. I would love to see Jim Curtin at some point. But the Philadelphia Union they'd be lesser off, and we got rid of the guy that would be ready-made to replace him, Pat Noonan. We got rid of him, and he's at FC Cincinnati because he wanted his time in the limelight, deservedly so, because he deserved it. So I think Jesse Marsch, I think Patrick Vieira, they'd be dumb not to sit down with him, but they're not in a rush here. They're not in a rush. They've been clear about that.
Even Bielsa must have a job interview with the U.S. men's national team. But tell us down below your thoughts on this one, because my days, man, the U.S. men's national team coach, get Balogun. He put a story recently. I want to play where I'm appreciated. We'll go to the U.S. You'll be the top striker.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. just got a win in Alex Zendejas, pulling him over back, I should say, from Mexico. And if Hilaire and Balogun would be, especially before the Copa America, before Gold's Cup, before all these things coming up, it would be wonderful to get him in there. And Balogun has been, he knows these guys. He knows them. And it is
From
a little
Arsenal,
weird that yes.
Like Musa,
so Balogun,
I think.
I think it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time. It's filing the one-time switch. It's getting it done. But listen, I appreciate you taking this time to talk about the U.S. men's national team. But if we're going to shout out one other person right now, I have to shout out two. One is Ilan Meslier became the youngest goalkeeper ever to make 100 Premier League appearances ever in Premier League history. Meslier, okay? Well done, you. He is not the best, version of himself right now, but my goodness, has he saved Leeds United more often than he has hurt Leeds United. So I am here for his continued development, and Leeds with the big win the other day, which is good to see, but they're going to need a whole lot more to get out of that relegation scrap. But I have to bring you, if Thiago Almada, he just made history in Major League Soccer. He became the first player to register 4 goals, 4 assists in his first 4 games, 8 goal involvements in 4 games for Atlanta United. This kid is starting to look, okay? He was a star, when he was breaking out in Argentina. He is now not the finished product. But if Miguel Almiron went for 25 million, 30 million plus at Newcastle United multiple years ago, Thiago Almada is going to absolutely crush this transfer record. And I'm looking at probably 50 million plus.
What?
If he can continue this hot form.
Whoa.
Yes, you have to look.
50
just go
million.
and look.
That's so bold.
Just go.
MLS player leaving for 50 million. That'd be, mate, if that happens, Breton, I would go bonkers. He's a World Cup winner, though. He's a World Cup winner.
He is a World Cup winner. I mean, this is a guy that made it. Yes, I understand there were injuries. I understand, there's a lot of people that think he's only getting hyped because he is in America. But no, he made it a point. He's not, he's in a foreign land, essentially, right? He could have made the jump right now. He could be a Facundo Buonanotte at Brighton. He could be any number of these guys, but it's becoming increasingly clear that Major League Soccer as a stepping stone is a really, really good way to do it. And Almada has not been as good as he is right now. And if he continues this, he not only will be a candidate for MVP for the season in Major League Soccer, and it is early, but he will be a major candidate for the biggest move ever in Major League history, Major League Soccer history from Atlanta United. So just watch him. Okay, 50 million. Who knows? Inflation will take care of that number, but definitely 40. And I'm not trying to hedge. But Almada, go look at his most recent golazo over the weekend. Free kick, beautiful from real far out. Bennett with pace, top right corner, absolutely just golden. So
we're talking about free
Almada's the man.
kicks. Free kicks like Cristiano Ronaldo in the Saudi league, 9 goals scored, 2 assists.
I did see that.
Great free kick, and I'm just happy to see Ronaldo happy. Next to Talisca, man. Talisca is getting numbers too, and I think Ronaldo even gave a penalty to Talisca to show him like get that confidence back. So I like what Ronaldo's doing too.
Hey, Alex, speaking of old guys, since we're talking about Ronaldo,
come on,
that's so mean.
Come
so
on,
mean.
man.
So mean.
Hello,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But listen, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I get it was a penalty, but he also, I believe, over the weekend he became the oldest ever goal scorer in Serie A history at 41 years old. You gotta love the story that is Zlatan. Even if I am ready for that narrative to end at some point.
Oh, man. And Haaland now going bold, following those footsteps, too.
Oh, my gosh.
People, don't forget to like FC Wonderkid's episode podcast. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts if you want to listen. Just the voice, just our voice version. And please, if you're listening until now, don't forget to subscribe to FC Wonderkid. And thank you, people. Thank you so much for going bold with us on a weekly basis.